Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday. It's November the 7th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Just a couple of things. I'm doing this really late in the evening on Friday night. I didn't I didn't come in till late today, so I didn't really trade a whole lot. I watched the chart a little bit later in the morning. There wasn't, if you were looking for a midday chart, there wasn't one, and you're probably thinking there's no um, chart lesson today too. But I'm going to do one. It's going to be rather quick, and and then I'm going to get out of here because it's really late already, and it's Friday night. And the only reason I'm here is I've been taking care of some other business, doing some updates to the website and so forth. If you've been trying to access the website and it's been slow and stuff today, then uh, that's probably why, because we've been doing some work on the website this afternoon, and that's the reason I'm here a little late. But I'm going to do a quick chart lesson. Here's what I saw today. There's a larger two-tiered channel, very obvious here. Lows are here, highs here. There's a nice midline across here. Um, there's some shorter term. There's a little spike and kind of channel down here. Um, you got your break and move to a new low. And there's a little spike and channel up here, a little bitty one. You got your break. It tried to go higher and couldn't, and then turned down. Um, and you got a nice move up here. And where do you think you're probably heading? To the upside. And that's exactly where it goes. Um, then we just kind of got hung in this trading range until it touched the and kind of touched the upper trend line again. And then it worked down to the midline and tried to go lower, but it couldn't. It just kind of stayed in the upper half of the two-tier channel here. And in the big picture, it's really just a trading range kind of day, but it's got a downward bias other than this rally here. That's the thing, we're already back hitting 2034. So, and it wasn't long ago we were down, 1800 something. So this is just a really this is a market that just won't quit. It keeps kind of chopping higher, although it's more rangy, and you just got to be careful because it reverses on a dime. And in the big picture, we try we the lows 2020 50, and the highs 2033 50. So 13 points. There's plenty of room to make money in there, but when it gets in stuff like this, you got to switch to the range rules. And there's actually a trade here I missed. There's a short right there. And, this one, I believe you can make this one red. It's real close between red and green. Um, and I'll explain that when we get there. But let me tell you about the trades real quick. And, like I said, I'm going to move through this fairly quickly. And but I wanted to do something today. I know I was out for a couple of weeks, and um, I wanted to do some things. So, but anyway, notice this new low. This looks real trading range like right here. You got these lows from the day before. It's a couple of legs down. You get kind of hung up here. It tries to go lower once, pulls back, tries to go lower twice. There's a second entry short there, but look at all that overlap. It's that same old, same old. Just sit tight and see what happens, and it turns down and hits that low and turns right up. So you got that failed second entry short. It gives you a trap. You figure prices will probably come back and test these highs, and it actually makes a new high. So I like that trade right there to the upside. And then, of course, you get up here to the highs and you get this break higher and it turns. Look how bearish that is. And that's like one leg of correction and a second leg. And if you measure that, it's probably going to be a much bigger move up, as you can see, really, if you measure from about right there. But that's really what this is. This is like two legs here, a correction, and then a second leg. That's what it appears and looks like to me. So that's what I see. So it's similar to two legs up, and on a bigger picture, it probably would be a second entry. But look at that big bearish reversal bar. Normally you want to wait on a second entry, but this looks rangy, And there you got that high, and just kind of like you tried to go higher a couple more times. All this does make a new high. I went back and forth about whether or not to make that one green, but that's a pretty good setup. It's so far away from the EMA, you got plenty of room to get out. And then you get two more legs back up and a failed second entry long there. Somebody, I believe this is where they asked me about a second entry long today, and they were wondering why it failed. Um, but you got to notice all those highs there. Look what's happened every time we come up there. One, two, three, four. This is the fifth time, and look how bearish that. So you don't want to go long into that. So just sit there and see what happens, and then you get the trap. And that was a great move down. That was probably the move of the moment. And then you get down here, and you're um, you've got really um, one leg here, and then another leg. They're not. This is more rangy, but you still would probably be looking for your measured leg, and you see that would put you back down here, and it went a little further, and it comes back. You still don't want to go long, but there's no real breakout pullback short set up. But then it goes higher and fails, and it tries to go lower again, but it's still not a very good setup right there. And then it looks like a failed second entry short, but and you might have this midline. I doubt it. You could have had this line up here, but it's hard to make anything out of that by that time if you look what it would look like. Um, so it just looks like prices are kind of hung around this the low of this range again. So uh, I don't think you want to go long right there. Um, it's too close to that double top. So there's too much overlap in dojis. Again, I think if you just sit tight and wait and see what happens, the bias is definitely down. So you got to be careful about going long. And you did break below here. Although you might have been looking for a long there, you don't really get a good setup. And when it turns higher and fails and turns back down, I like going short then. So there's a short there, and it pulls back. And again, you're just kind of sitting tight here. It's back to the EMA. You get a first entry, pull back, pull back. It tries to go higher. It looks like it's trapped people to the shorts side, and it turns back down and gives you that second entry right there. Um, and the fact that it went higher first and then down, you figure you're going to test that low again, and it continues. It went a little bit lower, and then you get another two-legged correction. And what this is a spike in a channel, and you can find this channel very easily. Um, and again, you got one leg up, first or a new low, first entry, pull back, second entry right there. I went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green or red because it's not quite back to the upper trend line running across here. Uh, Originally, I had it even a little higher like so, and it may be that high, but it may be that it's just a little lower and we're getting above it, and we just broke above it a little bit there. So if you moved it down and adjusted it there, then that makes more sense. And that really does catch that first one, and it gets right in there over that little break there. So I kind of like it there. And if you do, and you always want to adjust your lines kind of as you get more price action. Um, and remember, this was right at the regular session open here. Let me see if that break higher was actually before. No, it's right at it. And so, that's close enough to where you might not consider that a break yet. Um, but either way, you get the second entry and you're turning down right off that line again. And that's the first time you even barely broke above the EMA. And this is pointing down pretty strongly. Clear channel here. No matter where you drew the lines, you should have been able to get it off those lows. That's where where I got it from and drug it up. I mean, that's real obvious right across there. And you just drag it up until you get it to fit. So, but by the time you've bounced here, you should have definitely had it right. And so second entry short, another nice move down. You might have gotten a little bit antsy right here when this didn't continue down. Um, but hang tight and it works out. Never did it break above a previous bar. and then you make a new low down here, and this time you reverse, and here this time you get your first entry right here, and now you're just waiting on your second entry, and it gives you a second entry right here. Not a very good one, and notice you probably wouldn't have had this trend line yet right here either, because this is just a little iffy, but it turns out it's like a spiking channel. But no reason to go short below that bar right there, especially with everything kind of starting to get above the EMA. Just sit tight, and then because that's generally where you're going to get a trap, and you get that trap there. I didn't like going long there either because it went lower first, but it got hung at that high again, and then it got hung in there again. So I don't see going long there, even though now you've got something to work with a little bit. Uh, it's just not a very good setup. So just sit tight, and then you get a break, and it tries to make a new high, breaks lower, and it tries again. So that's like a second entry long that fails, but again, it's just too overlapping. Um, you probably, again, you may not have had that midline in there yet either. You probably would have had this down here trying to figure out where it was, and you may not have had that midline in there just yet. But but now you got your new high, first entry pullback. There's a failed second entry long there, and this one traded out the top and then turned down. Look how it closed on its bottom. So I like going short there, and it did kind of try to bounce again a little bit, but you're looking for a new low because that's the first break of this spike and channel here. And so you're looking for a new low anyway, and then finally it shoots on down to a new low. And you might have even considered going short there, but I doubt I would have. If I'd have seen all that overlap there, I probably would have ignored that. So I'm not going to circle it. And it drops on down. It does make a new low. And just kind of like what we've seen the last few days, you've got this spike and channel working down here, and then you get a new low, and then suddenly it reverses. It hadn't necessarily been a spike and channel, but you've had like a little channel, and you get a break and it moves down. But we actually got a new low this time where we haven't been, a few times we've come up short here, and that's another reason to be a little bit leery of that, because every time we make a low for the day, and this is kind of the same MO. It tried to trade up in the overnight, and then it sells off, and it finds a low and then reverses. So it's still the same similar MO we've been having almost every day, except it's not as exaggerated today. In other words, the move up was not as big, the move down was not as big, and then the reversal was not as big. And it's probably because it's Friday and a lot of people are not trading. Um, you know, Fridays people quit early. A lot of people don't trade. They take the day off, similar to me, and things change. But then you bounce here anyway. First entry short, pull back. There's a second entry short. You don't want to be going short there because you've had your break and your new low. And but you should have definitely tried to pull this down here and find that matched, and just kind of left it there. And that would have allowed you, by the time you got these two, you should have been able to find that midline. And but you get a failed second entry short there. It's not a very good one. You probably got to think that you're coming back to this line. And so I like taking it as an aggressive trade, but I couldn't mark that one blue. Even though I like those, generally you get your failed second entry somewhere down here where you got more room, but you've had a pretty good move and you're way away from the EMA. So it's aggressive, but it is right off the trend line basically there too. If you tighten that trend line just a little, you see that fits really nicely up through there on both sides. It's holding prices nicely. And then you get your break, first entry, and then this looks like a little congestion area, and then you break below that, and it gets that little trap, and then you get a second entry long there. Again, it's not an ideal setup, but there's enough reasons, and you're looking for a new high, and you figure prices are coming back to this line as well, so you got a little room there. And so I like that one too, being a little aggressive. I think it's too late by the time you get this little pullback here and another chance. It would have worked, but I think it's too late then. And then you turn down there, you pull back, and you get a second entry short there counting off the highs, but you're back too close to this Look at all that support across there. And so I didn't like it. And guess what? It bounces. And then you get a failed second entry long, so it's really tempting, and it broke higher. It looks like it probably broke higher. I can't remember what it did here. I think it broke higher first and then turned down and closed on its very low. And that would be really, really tempting. But look across here. The odds are you're not going to get through that. You bounced every time, and then you closed even higher here. That's not a good sign. It did go lower. I don't think it was enough to get a short. I drew that, so that's why I circled that so I would remember to talk about it. Um, not a very, it's a wonderful looking setup, but if you look at the big picture and take everything into context, and it's right into the EMA, first time we've gotten near it since we broke above way down here, um, and it reverses, and there's really a trap there. Um, you might have even considered going long right here because look how many times you bounce. So I think I'll circle that one green. But at the time, I'll tell you why, and why I won't make it blue, and the reason I didn't mark it originally was because you've come off the top. Generally, that's going to send you to the low side. Um, but this is starting to look like really strong support across here. So you might take that to the long side, and then when it turns down right across there again, um, that's a second entry short, and we're looking for prices to come down. So I like that to the short side. And then it bounces here again, and by this time, there's no doubt the EMA is flat. This looks like a range. We're probably going to the other side, and there's a second entry right there, and you might have even taken that one, but there's not much room there to get out. And you see it I don't know if it would have worked. It probably would have worked, but it's really risky without enough room there. And then you get another little push up, and you see what happens. You've got confluence here because you've got the range high plus the trend line high, and so I really like that one. But you can't get in there; it's too close, and then you get the little pullback, and you get a second entry. So I like that one, and this time it takes on off. Um, you probably would have wanted to use a limit order here. I would have, and it takes on off. And that was the last trade. It's about 115. There's another setup here. It's a first entry, but it's a breakout pullback, and you do get a more bearish bar. You might have considered taking that one too. It's not ideal, so we'll mark it in green just in case anybody's wondering about it. And then you actually get a failed second entry long, but look what time it is. It's getting really late in the day. But there's a failed second entry long right there that reverses, and look at it go. And that was pretty much it. That got you into the 2:30 hour, and not much happening after that. So that's what I saw today. Quite a few trades there. You just had to be able to recognize what's going on, and that's the key to all of it, to be honest. But if you recognize what's going on, uh, quite a few trades today. And most of them are just scalps. There were a couple that made a nice move, but most of them are just scalps. And that was it. So I'm not going to hold on to this any longer or drag this out any longer today. I apologize that I'm doing it so late, but I did want to get one out today, and I just got tied up and couldn't do it. And but we'll be back to do it again Monday. Hopefully I'll be back to a more regular schedule again on Monday. It's been helpful to me to get back to my regular schedule. It keeps me busy. It's kept my mind off, and I'm healing after the loss of my dad. So I appreciate again all the emails, the notes, the words of sympathy, and the prayers and so forth. And it's been a great help to me and my family as well. So we appreciate it. But I want to wrap it up and start my weekend. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.